All right, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into building better money habits.
Yeah.
And for this one, we're going to be using a blog post from Pure Bookkeeping as our guide.
Right.
And they lay out 10 habits for a more prosperous life. And honestly, who could use a bit more of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think what's really interesting here is this whole idea of habits over resolutions.
Okay.
The author Michael Palmer, who's also the CEO of Pure Bookkeeping,
Yeah.
he really pushes back against this idea of New Year's resolutions that we all make and often forget about by February.
Yeah.
Instead, he's advocating for like a more sustainable approach, building these money habits that stick.
Okay, I'm hooked already, but
Yeah.
resolutions are easy to make, but
Yeah.
how do we actually make these habits happen?
Right, and that's where understanding the mechanics of habit formation becomes super crucial.
Okay.
And the article actually brings in James Clear's 3 R's,
Okay.
reminder, routine, reward.
Okay.
Super simple but powerful framework.
So walk me through it. What does that look like in practice?
Okay.
Especially when we're talking about something like personal finances.
So imagine setting a reminder on your phone to check your budget every Sunday evening.
Okay.
That's your reminder.
Got it.
Yeah. The routine is the act of reviewing your transactions, maybe categorizing them, seeing where your money went.
Mm-hmm.
And then the reward could be something as simple as allowing yourself to buy that fancy coffee
Okay.
on Monday morning since you stayed on track.
I love that it's
Yeah.
giving yourself a mini celebration for
Excellent.
being financially responsible.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's get to the actual habits here.
Okay.
The first one that both Palmer and Yasser Khan, he's the founder of wealthkept.com, by the way,
Oh, cool.
emphasize, is the importance of having clear financial goals.
And this is where things get really interesting. They're not just saying have goals.
Right.
They're pushing for crystal clear, specific goals.
Okay.
The article uses the example of someone who wants to start their own business.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just saying, I need money,
Yeah.
they need to figure out exactly how much funding they need,
Yeah.
how much they can realistically save each month, and so on.
So it's about turning that vague desire into a concrete plan.
Exactly.
With numbers attached to it.
Exactly. And that level of clarity impacts every financial decision they make.
Wow.
Do they need to pick up a side hustle to reach that goal faster? Should they cut back on certain expenses? Everything becomes framed by that very specific goal.
This is hitting home for me already.
Yeah.
I'm definitely guilty of having some fuzzy financial goals.
Sure.
But what about the emotional side of money? The article talks about overcoming guilt associated with money.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is such a taboo subject for so many people?
I think there are so many factors at play. How we were raised, societal expectations,
Okay.
even religious beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Money can be seen as something that's just not polite to talk about openly.
And that silence can actually make things worse, right? It prevents people from seeking help or even admitting they're struggling.
Absolutely. And the article's really pushing us to challenge that mindset.
Okay.
They want us to see money as a tool,
Right.
as something that can help us achieve our goals and live a more fulfilling life, not something to be ashamed of.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
And speaking of tools, the next habit is all about diversifying those income streams.
Okay.
Not just relying on one paycheck, but finding creative ways to bring in extra cash.
And we have a great real-world example of this from Yasser Khan, who we mentioned earlier.
Okay.
He actually built 2 successful side businesses while working a full-time job.
Okay, that's impressive. But spill the tea. What were these magical side hustles?
Okay.
And what can we learn from his success?
So one of his businesses was focused on creating and selling online courses,
Okay.
tapping into a growing demand for digital learning.
Mm-hmm.
He leveraged his existing skills in marketing and web development.
Okay.
And he was very strategic about choosing a niche with high demand, but relatively low competition. His other venture involved freelance writing and consulting.
Okay.
Again, using his existing skill set to create a profitable side hustle.
So it's about finding that sweet spot
Yeah,
between your skills,
exactly.
market demand, and what you genuinely enjoy doing.
Exactly. It's not just about chasing every side hustle opportunity that comes your way,
Right.
but about finding those that align with your strengths and interests.
Love it. Now onto something that might be a little less exciting,
Okay.
but equally important, debt.
Yes.
The article is pretty blunt. Make debt reduction your top priority.
And for good reason.
Okay.
What a lot of people don't fully grasp is the concept of compounding debt.
Okay.
It's not just about the initial amount you owe, it's about the interest that keeps accruing, essentially making your debt grow even if you're making payments.
So it's like the snowball effect. Oh,
Exactly.
but in a bad way.
Exactly. The sooner you can tackle it, the better. And the article even recommends checking out JP Morgan Chase's annual retirement guide. Apparently, they have some great resources on debt management strategies.
Solid tip. Now onto a topic that can get a little sticky.
Okay.
The interception of finances and personal relationships.
Mm-hmm.
The article is very clear. Keep these two worlds separate as much as possible.
This is all about protecting both your finances and your relationships.
Right.
We've all heard those horror stories about friendships ending over money.
Oh, totally. So how do we navigate those tricky situations?
Yeah.
Like when a friend asks for a loan or suggests going into business together.
Clear communication is key.
Okay.
It might feel awkward, but it's crucial to set expectations up front.
Right.
What are the repayment terms? What happens if things go wrong?
It's almost like you need a mini contract,
Exactly.
even if it's just between friends.
Exactly. Having things in writing can save so much heartache later on.
Solid advice now. This next habit is one that I find really intriguing.
Okay.
Viewing money as a tool rather than the end goal in itself.
Yeah. What's fascinating here is that this simple shift in perspective can have a huge impact on our relationship with money.
Okay.
Instead of chasing wealth for the sake of it, it becomes a means to achieve something more meaningful.
The article poses a powerful question. What does financial freedom truly mean to you?
Right.
What are your personal ends that you want to achieve with money?
It's such an important question for our listener to consider.
Right.
Is it security travel, starting that dream business,
Mm-hmm.
or something else entirely? By defining our why, money becomes a resource to help us achieve those aspirations.
And sometimes we need a little help
Yeah.
figuring out how to use that resource effectively. That's where the next habit comes in, seeking advice from financial professionals.
Yes.
Especially for big decisions.
Think of it like having a financial coach in your corner.
Okay.
They can help you navigate those complex areas like investing or retirement planning, creating a personalized strategy tailored to your specific goals and risk tolerance.
Okay, so it's like having a financial translator.
Yep.
Someone who can demystify the jargon
Yeah.
and help you make smart decisions.
And just like we wouldn't hesitate to see a doctor when we're sick,
Right.
we shouldn't hesitate to seek out professional guidance when it comes to something as important as our financial well-being.
Solid advice. Now, let's move on to a habit that's all about resisting temptation.
Okay.
Saying no to those impulsive purchases that can derail our financial progress.
The article makes a really interesting distinction between fleeting satisfaction and lasting fulfillment.
Okay.
Impulse buys tend to feed a short-term desire, a quick hit of dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
But those planned purchases, the ones that are truly aligned with our goals, those tend to bring a deeper sense of satisfaction.
It's like the difference between that sugar rush from a candy bar
Yeah.
versus the sustained energy you get from a healthy meal.
Yeah.
One feels good in the moment, the other actually fuels your body.
Yeah, exactly. And the article offers some practical tips for curbing those impulse spending urges.
Okay.
One that I love is the waiting period. Before you buy something on a whim, force yourself to wait 24 hours a week or even a month, depending on the price tag.
Mm-hmm.
If you still really want it after that time, then maybe it's worth considering.
I need to implement that in my life stat.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the excitement of new shiny object syndrome.
Another helpful strategy is creating a want versus need list.
Okay.
When that urge to splurge hits, write it down in the want column.
Got it.
Then take some time to reflect on your actual needs and prioritize those purchases first.
Okay, I'm loving these practical tips.
Right.
And finally, we come to a habit that, let's be honest, doesn't always have the best reputation.
Okay.
Living below your means.
And the article does a fantastic job of reframing this concept.
Okay.
It's not about deprivation. It's about making conscious choices that align with your values and priorities.
It's about saying, I'd rather invest in experiences than things, or I'm going to prioritize paying down debt so I can have more financial freedom in the future.
Exactly. And the article even highlights examples of incredibly wealthy individuals who are known for their frugal lifestyles.
Really?
They understand that true wealth isn't about flashing your cash. It's about having the freedom to live life on your own terms.
So it's not about denying yourself joy. It's
Yeah.
about finding joy in the things that truly matter.
Precisely. It's about aligning your spending with your values and goals. Do you really need that designer handbag, or would
Yeah.
you rather use that money to invest in your dream business or take that trip you've always wanted?
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Good.
We've covered a lot of ground here, from the power of habits to the importance of seeking expert advice and being mindful of our spending.
Yeah,
Are you ready for part 2 of our deep dive?
absolutely. I'm eager to explore the remaining habits and really dig into how we can put these ideas into action.
Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsor.
Sounds good.
Welcome back, everyone. So we're in the middle of unpacking 10 powerful money habits, using that Pure Bookkeeping blog post as our roadmap.
And before the break, we were really digging into the idea of living below your means
Right.
and how that can actually be a path to freedom, not deprivation.
It's about being intentional with your resources, right?
Yeah.
Not just mindlessly spending, but
Exactly.
making choices that align with your bigger goals.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that true wealth isn't measured by how much you spend, but by how much you keep and how you utilize those resources to build the life you want.
And this ties back to the idea of habits as the foundation of lasting change, which the article really hammers home.
Mm-hmm.
They're pushing back against those quick fix schemes or get rich quick promises.
Right.
It's about putting in the work to build a solid financial future,
Yeah.
brick by brick.
Think of it like constructing a building. You need a strong foundation to support everything else.
Right.
Those habits, those consistent actions, that's your foundation.
Okay, so before we get into the remaining habits, let's do a quick recap
Okay.
of what we've covered so far.
Right.
We talked about setting clear financial goals,
Yeah.
getting over any guilt associated with money,
Right.
diversifying your income streams,
Mhm.
tackling that debt head on,
Yes.
separating friendship from finances,
Mm-hmm.
viewing money as a tool, not an end goal.
Right.
And of course, that last one we were just discussing, embracing the idea of living below your means.
Absolutely.
Now let's move on to a habit that often gets overlooked, but is absolutely crucial for long-term financial well-being.
Saving for your future.
Okay, so we're not just talking about stashing some cash under the mattress, right?
Right.
This is about having a strategic plan for the future, whether it's retirement, a down payment on a house, or that dream trip around the world.
So how do we even begin to create that personalized savings plan?
Yeah.
It can feel overwhelming, especially if you're not exactly rolling in dough right now.
The article emphasizes the importance of starting small.
Oh.
Even setting aside a small amount each month can make a difference over time, thanks to the power of compound interest.
Oh, compound interest, that magical concept where your money essentially starts earning money on its own.
Right.
But can you break that down for us a bit?
Sure.
I feel like a lot of people hear compound interest and just glaze over.
Absolutely. So imagine you invest $100 today, and it earns 5% interest per year.
Okay.
After the first year, you'll have $105.
Got it.
But in the second year, you're not just earning interest on the original $100.
Right.
You're also earning interest on that $5 you earned in interest.
Mm-hmm.
So over time, your earnings start to snowball.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like this domino effect of money-making magic.
Exactly. And the earlier you start, the more time that magic has to work. It's wonders. The article even suggests setting up automatic transfers to your savings account.
Oh, okay.
That way you're consistently saving without even having to think about it.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
Speaking of minds, this next habit is all about challenging our assumptions and seeking out expert advice when it comes to our finances.
The article is very clear. Don't be afraid to ask for help, especially when it comes to big financial decisions like
Mhm.
investing for retirement or buying a house. This is where those financial advisors come in, right?
Yeah.
But honestly, I think a lot of people feel intimidated by the whole world of investing. It can feel like this exclusive club
Sure.
for people who already have tons of money.
And that's a huge misconception. The reality is that financial advisors work with people from all walks of life and at all income levels. They can help you create a personalized investment strategy that aligns with your goals and risk tolerance.
So it's like having a financial translator,
Exactly.
someone who can demystify the jargon and help you make smart decisions.
And just like we wouldn't hesitate to see a doctor when we're sick, we shouldn't hesitate to seek out professional guidance when it comes to something as important as our financial well-being.
Solid advice. Now, let's move on to a habit that's all about resisting temptation, saying no to those impulsive purchases that can derail our financial progress.
The article makes a really interesting distinction between fleeting satisfaction and lasting fulfillment. Impulse buys tend to feed a short-term desire, a quick hit of dopamine, but those planned purchases, the ones that are truly aligned with our goals, Those tend to bring a deeper sense of satisfaction.
It's like the difference between that sugar rush from a candy bar versus the sustained energy you get from a healthy meal. One feels good in the moment, the other actually fuels your body.
Exactly. And the article offers some practical tips for curbing those impulse spending urges. One that I love is the waiting period.
Okay.
Before you buy something on a whim, force yourself to wait 24 hours a week or even a month, depending on the price tag.
Right.
If you still really want it after that time,
Yeah.
then maybe it's worth considering.
I like that, giving your brain a chance to catch up with your impulses.
Another helpful strategy is creating a want versus need list. When that urge to splurge hits, write it down in the want column.
Okay.
Then take some time to reflect on your actual needs and prioritize those purchases first.
Okay, I'm loving these practical tips.
Good.
And finally, we come to a habit that, let's be honest, doesn't always have the best reputation, living below your means.
And the article does a fantastic job of reframing this concept.
Okay.
It's not about deprivation. It's about making conscious choices that align with your values and priorities.
It's about saying, I'd rather invest in experiences than things, or I'm going to prioritize paying down debt so I can have more financial freedom in the future.
Exactly. And the article even highlights examples of incredibly wealthy individuals who are known for their frugal lifestyles.
Okay.
They understand that true wealth isn't about flashing your cash. It's about having the freedom to live life on your own terms.
So it's not about denying yourself joy.
Right.
It's about finding joy in the things that truly matter.
Precisely. It's about aligning your spending with your values and goals.
Yeah.
Do you really need that designer handbag? Or would you rather use that money to invest in your dream business or take that trip you've always wanted?
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground here, from the power of habits to the importance of seeking expert advice and being mindful of our spending.
Absolutely.
And we are back for the final part of our deep dive
All right.
into money habits. We've been using this blog post from Pure Bookkeeping as our guide, and I have to say I'm feeling pretty inspired to up my financial game.
I think what's really stood out to me is how interconnected these habits are.
Yeah.
They're not just isolated actions. They all work together to create like a more holistic
Totally.
and sustainable approach to managing your money.
Yeah, it's like they're pieces of a puzzle that,
Yeah.
when assembled, create this picture of financial well-being.
And what's great is that you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
The article emphasizes progress over perfection.
Okay.
It's about making those small, consistent changes that add up over time.
Speaking of small changes, let's loop back to that idea of compound interest for a sec. It's such a powerful concept.
It is.
But I think a lot of people struggle to grasp how those small contributions can actually lead to significant growth
Right.
over time.
It's like planting a seed. You nurture it with consistent watering and sunlight. And over time, it grows into this like strong and resilient tree.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It really highlights the importance of patience and consistency when
Absolutely.
it comes to building wealth.
And the article even draws a parallel to the idea of atomic habits,
Okay.
which James Clear talks about, small changes repeated consistently over time can compound into like remarkable results.
So it's not about trying to overhaul your entire life overnight.
Right.
It's about finding those small, sustainable changes that you can stick with for the long haul.
Exactly. And if you stumble along the way,
Yeah.
don't beat yourself up. Just acknowledge it, learn from it, and get back on track.
It's all about that growth mindset.
Yeah.
Embrace the journey, celebrate the small wins, and keep moving forward.
Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to highlight a powerful call to action
Okay.
that the article ends with. The sooner you take action, the better.
It's a reminder that knowledge without action is just potential waiting to be unleashed.
Right.
It's in the doing and the implementation
Yes.
that we truly transform our lives.
So we've explored these 10 powerful habits,
Okay.
from setting clear financial goals to diversifying your income, tackling debt-seeking expert advice,
Right.
and making mindful spending choices.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that building wealth isn't about luck or hitting the lottery. It's about making empowered choices, cultivating those positive habits, and taking consistent action.
It's about taking control of your financial destiny
Yes.
and creating a life of abundance and freedom.
So here's our final challenge for you. What's one small step you can take today to start building a more prosperous future?
Okay.
Maybe it's setting a financial goal, exploring a side hustle, creating a budget, or simply committing to saving a small amount each week.
Remember, the power to change your financial future lies within you.
Yes.
Take that first step today, and watch as those small actions compound into something extraordinary.
Thanks for joining us on this journey of financial discovery.
Yes.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a topic that matters to you. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving for that brighter tomorrow.